be so messed up going.
I know, right? It's like, jeez.
So I don't know if I told you guys this, but you're the first district that we've been doing these like hands-on training
I love
sessions
it.
with, and it's been like a hit. So we're going to be offering it to other districts.
There you
so
go.
Props to you guys for reaching out and telling us,
No, I'm like, no, we didn't know about this.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
you know,
there's
when
so
we
much to
apply,
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially because when we were going over it, my daughter kept saying, those policies are so antiquated, it's not funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like, okay. And then they were just like, no, press policy. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no policy. So she said, call me. I said, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We know.
Do you work with other types of organizations besides schools?
No, just
Like
for
churches?
so yeah, it's
And then they said, let me do it.
Seriously, yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well, that I think that would just be really good to.
It really would, you know, to have all those policies that, you know, everybody could follow.
Yeah.
You know, park districts.
Mm-hmm.
That would be nice.
It would be.
Yeah. Maybe not for my job security.
It's a basketball game going tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, which school?
Uh,
The East.
I know it's at West, but
West.
I don't know. You know, I'm not a
But I
sports
think it's
enthusiast, so I don't know.
East and West Plains.
It may be.
Yeah.
Wow.
Got a few minutes. Oh my gosh.
So how was your day?
It's been a good day so far.
That's good. It's been a busy day for me. I've been in
Lots of
meetings
voting.
literally all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I didn't even have time to even prepare for this meeting. And then when I stepped out and started making copies of the printer,
Mm-hmm.
ran out of toner, I'm just like, oh man, and after hours, everybody's gone.
Right. Right. Somebody help.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have your supplies on automatic, so your printing management company knows when you're running out. of
No,
time.
we have to put in a health ticket to IT.
no.
IT has to manage
That should
it.
be automatic.
They
We have
should.
automatic.
Mm-hmm. And
They can
then,
monitor the levels on the
oh,
printer,
really? See, that would be nice.
and when they see that the levels are going down, they ship the toner.
See, that would be nice. And then we have to put in a health ticket. IT has to take care of it. A lot of times they have to order
Somebody
it.
has to manage that.
Yes. And it would be nice if we could just have our own supply, maybe like in the department, so when it runs out, we could just pop it in the stuff. Because I think all we do is just pull out the old one and put in the new
That's
one.
all you do. And
That's it.
sometimes just empty the toner waste.
Yes, yes, yes. So it's real simple. And then you know you're down, you know, because everything just stops. So it won't even just print lighter. It just stops.
It has to just stop. That's one thing. It won't give you bad copies.
Nope, it just
You're
stops.
just gonna not copy.
Yes, it just stops. It shuts everything
And
down.
even if it's the yellow, you still can't print black and white.
That's right. Right, you
Yeah.
can't write nothing. It just stops.
Mm-hmm. So I love offices.
Oh, I know, right? So it's the more they streamline, the more it gets complicated.
Yeah. Well, I ordered about 8 boxes of Girl Scout cookies
Oh wow!
from a young lady
Do you have a favorite, or you just order to be supportive?
to be supportive.
Yeah.
I'm like trying not to eat cookies and all that
That's
extra
what I do.
stuff.
I just order just to support.
Oh yeah. So when I get them, I'll probably pass them out.
Yeah, I haven't been hit with an order just yet.
Okay.
So far so good.
Yeah. I think we do the same thing with the popcorn. We don't
Yeah.
need it. But
Now, what is it? The goodie
Double
is it?
good.
Yeah, double good. Now I did get hit with an order for, with the request for that. I haven't even opened the link yet to even see what they're selling this time.
Oh yeah, we have a tendency to just order for everybody.
The popcorn is good.
It is good.
Now I eat that.
It's good, but
It
you know,
is.
just so much
Mm-hmm.
cholesterol.
pleasure at this time to welcome Ms. Stephanie Garza and Mr. Roberto Gonzalez from Food Services. They're going to do a brief presentation followed by Nick Bauman, Policy Director. Okay. Thank you.
Hello.
Good evening.
So, as you said nicely, we are with food service, and this is our local wellness policy. State of Illinois has been pushing for each school to create a local wellness policy, something that we should revisit at least every 3 years. This is a very rough draft. Hopefully, we could revisit it yearly until we get to where we're comfortable, where we want our policy to be, how we want to be integrated into the community and things like that. So this was pretty much straight off of the state, whatever ones fit our guidelines the best, because there are some that were like selling a lot of food and like reaching out to other vendors and things like that we haven't really touched yet. So I kind of removed that and then put the stuff that actually makes sense for us. So going through it, let's see here. I wrote it so long, but I forgot. So first and foremost, we got the Wellness Policy Committee, which currently makes up of Ms. Garza and myself.
Slide.
Oh, thank you so much. Can't tell.
Clicker doesn't work, but that's okay.
Let's see if it clicks this. Ah, there it goes.
So obviously you have the table of contents, the preface on what policy number under the Illinois State Board of Education follows under, and where we would follow under here. So during, I don't know if you are aware, but come March 26th through the 29th, we are currently under an audit for Proviso Math and Science. That audit will consist of all the corrections that were made 3 years ago when Sodexo was here with us as your food management company, and where we have gone since we have taken over as self-operative as of 2021. So unfortunately, we have to go back and see what the mistakes were, which there were 17 citations that did not include the repayment from the district back to the state. So currently, right now, what we are doing is we are making sure, because everything was so topsy-turvy for the 2.5 years, they will be going through the audit for the month of February, which is this coming February. We will pick a week for them to audit. If they choose to turn around and go back a few months, they can go back 2 years from when we started. But currently, right now, what is a part of the audit is if we have the wellness policy in place, which every single district must have, in place and also uprooted into their website. Currently, right now, this policy that we currently have right now will sustain us until there may be a next audit, but we would like for everyone to read through it and pass it before the audit happens, because then we can upload it into the Proviso website and it has easy access for everybody. There is a local wellness committee that needs to be adhered to. We can make it up of, we comprise it right now of 2 people, which would be myself and Mr. Gonzalez, who's my assistant. However, we would like to also engage the rest of the community if possible. We can do this monthly, we can do this quarterly, but we would like to invite administration, students, the committee from outside to be a part of the wellness committee, to give us their thoughts on how we should change the menu, what they would like to see, and then also have a lot of the students, parents, and administration understand the constraints that we are currently under the USDA, who actually gives us the federal money to adhere to this program. So you can take it away.
So going through the list, there's always something that we could do differently and update. So first and foremost, with just the public involvement, this is very straight to the point how they could find us, our menus, what we offer, so that they're linked directly to the webpage, the quick blurb. We got to look into, I'm just thinking of this, putting up our newsletters that we put out monthly, try to attach that to our webpage too, because I'll add more information for these people to go on. for that public involvement, but it'll also be accessed through our webpage. As far as the assessments, obviously with the audits, with our meal compliance reimbursements, we're gonna make sure that we're compliant with the USDA, the state, and the local rules. With the wellness policy, hopefully helps us shape not just the food, but how we look at food in the school district and community-wise. So these assessments would be very important. Community feedback, student feedback, parent feedback on the menus and what they want to see on there. And as far as measurables, that goes with just currently the best way to do measurables for us is participation. So if the schools are, or the kids aren't eating, what they're eating, what menu items are good, what menu items are not. And that's where the assessments are going to be coming from. As far as the updates, we want to make sure that the updates are going to fit and fall in line with what we want to do for the wellness policy. So again, having those yearly meetings, constant updates coming to these meetings, like Stephanie said, monthly, quarterly, getting that community feedback, board members feedback, and so forth. And again, our website is linked there because that's where all of this should be uploaded for us and make it a one-stop shop for all of us. As far as records go, we keep the most recent policy and assessment records. Again, since we're just measuring participation, that comes from our daily charts, from the meals that we're submitting to the state, and then speaking with the board and all that, making sure that we're following in line with what you guys want. And lots of documentation. We have that everywhere, especially with the audit coming up. We're finding all the stuff that we need, what we may need to go back and revise, and making sure moving forward for the next audits that we're in place and have that in order.
Nutritional standards, the meals basically are just broken down that we are currently right now on the National School Lunch Program. We are currently also under the National School Breakfast Program. Those are the two programs that the state and the federal government reimburse our meals on based on participation. We make sure that we have no competitive food, which has been a problem in the past. We still know that it's a problem in a lot of our schools, especially when teachers are selling meals inside of their classrooms, and we don't know where those funds are going. Those funds should technically be going straight to the bursar's office to make sure it's recorded and that they have a receipt. And once their receipt is done, then it's going to the sports programs or whatever activity program it's going to. We know we had some issues last year, which we started putting things into place where Ida and the rest of the team, under Mr. Moody at the time, made sure that all monies were either given to Miss Ida for all 3 high schools until there was some revamping done. But now there's a certain time where everybody has to take their money, including our department. Any adult meals or student meals that are sold are easily sent to the bursar's office or our business office on a weekly basis, where I have a daily sales sheet that they account for. Ida recounts the money and then we get our receipt. Any competitive foods, such as anything that's pop, not a smart snack, that is under the federal guidelines, should not be sold. We do have pop machines in the area, however, they're at 0 sugar or whatever the compliance is. Pepsi is aware of inside their contract that anything that's sold outside of the cafeterias that can deter students from purchasing any meals from us, that they know is competitive selling. Anything that's a competitive sell also as far as fundraisers are concerned, if it's sold during the lunchtime, it does competitive selling towards our lunchrooms. So we make sure that we have certain fundraisers that are put into the books, and those fundraisers are to be here for that date, and they are to be sold 500 feet away from the dining room areas. If we are not in compliance, then the auditor will let us know at that time. They will either shut down a fundraiser that is going on at that time, or they will let us know that the pop machines that we currently have may be too close to the dining room tables and that they must be shut down a half an hour, an hour before school starts, which is usually around 6 or 6:30, and they can be re-put back on at 3:30, a half an hour after the bell. Okay? Other foods and beverages, again, that goes under our fundraising guidelines. We also noticed that food cannot be a trophy to be given as a prize. So let's just say we wanted to run promotions as they used to do back in the day, where if you bring your ticket in, you're going into a raffle and we can possibly have a DJ for your proms, or we can do certain things. You'll have a pizza party. They now deter from that as a part of a promotion. What you want to do is kind of make it more lively and to maybe adhere to the months. Like this month will be Black History Month, next month is Asian Month, May is Women's Month. So what we're trying to do is now introduce menu items that will actually adhere to each month and how it incorporates an international month for everybody. Fundraisers, as I stated before, they encourage fundraisers to be more on a charity walk, a silent auction, garage sales, craft fairs, school spirit merchandise, and plant sales. They are definitely trying to push away from having any type of food sales that can possibly also be dangerous for the students, especially if it is not store-bought. If it is homemade, it puts us in a danger zone where easily if a child gets sick, they can easily go ahead and blame, I had lunch at school, and it comes to us as opposed to the fundraiser. So that's why they try to adhere to this particular policy and stem away from any type of food fundraisers. So this may be something that we may want to introduce to students in the upcoming years to stay away from the food. And let's do plant sales, let's do rose sales, let's do any other type of sale, but try to sell for food. Go ahead.
Well, going back to the fundraisers, if we were to sell anything, it has to be 30 minutes after the last bell. They can't sell during the day. So that's in here too. So if for some reason they wanted to sell anything, like the Taste of Proviso, as long as it's past that 30 minutes, it's okay. They don't deem it as an exempt day for us. When it comes to the nutritional education, like I said, I've been trying more and more to put newsletters out, put flyers out throughout the school, throughout our CAF, making it a little bit more nutrition education focused, so these students know what's going on. Like Steph said, with all the different histories or enlightening or bringing up to light different food options and how we could integrate food and make it more of a educational purpose rather than just something to eat. That's what kind of the section's going to be pushing towards. Again, we're following the guidelines as best as we can and looking into anything that the state offers for us as a resource to use throughout the CAF. Again, that also ties back to like the nutrition promotion, having these multiple avenues of channels where they could go and find resources, even if it's a quick, oh, this is what we're having squash today, this is what squash is beneficial for. Or I know I did the Indigenous Day flyers throughout the CAF. That was bringing light to like agriculture and how we used to grow crops and how we look at that, and now we can tie it back to the history of it, and now it's a bigger discussion. You know, now the student is not just thinking of squash, now they're thinking like, oh, I remember Indigenous Day, they talked about it in the CAF. Now we could ask the history teacher, maybe the history teacher knows about. And now it's bringing the food back to the classroom, and now it's an open conversation for everyone throughout the district. Marketing, again, that comes to similar to fundraising. We're trying not to do anything that says full sugar Pepsis or anything like that. Got to be like the diet version of things, or the sugar, zero free sugar, things along those lines.
We do sell ice cream, which is Hershey's is one of our vendors during the spring and summertime. When we do sell that, that is considered a smart snack and is approved by Illinois State Board and also the USDA, where the sugars and the carbs are very low. So it's low fat, no sugar. So they are enjoyable by the students. We do sell them, but they do follow the guidelines of the smart snack. Hershey's is a contractor, so they know the smart snack program as well. As far as marketing is concerned, usually what we try to do is make sure that we market throughout the school, letting students know. We try to incorporate the principals to make them as part of our daily announcements. Sometimes it's a hit or miss, but for the most part, that's how we do our marketing, is either through the cafeterias, through our workers, or ourselves, and through the student councils.
Next is the physical education portion. Although we are just nutrition, it's a wellness policy. Physical education falls into that wellness. So this one is just straight from our curriculum of what the students have offered for physical activity, so that the parents also know if they were to hop on here that these are all the activities that these students could get into as a physical education portion to us. Outside, of the physical activities just are educational wise. You also have all your sports at East and West. So I put the links in there too, so that anyone that is looking at this, if they want to see what else we have to offer, like track and field, cross country, this would be a place to locate those. And then again, using more physical education throughout the Illinois Health Public Institute, seeing other resources, again, just to help promote and show that it's a whole wellness policy. We're looking at all the aspects of wellness here.
And lastly, other school-based activities, anything out that's outside of the school, whether it's gyms or things of that nature, that's the other school activity-based activities that they can do. Whether we have a gym here, that is another school-based activity where they don't have to join a sport, but if they can use the gym here to facilitate some type of physical activity where they can stay in wellness, then that's something that's also opened and as a probability to each student. Our wellness policy is broken down simply for right now, but it is passable for our state audit that will happen in March. And as we come along to the new school year, we can promote and get out to the community, to the students, to the parents, to be a part of our wellness committee. But at least this is basic for right now, that we can stay here and state, yes, you can find a wellness policy on our website. If you need to go to it, we also have the board policy in case that they're looking for something else. Obviously, the board policy is also on there as well. Our job is to make sure that within the wellness policy that we are promoting healthy eating, that we are promoting physical activity, and that we are promoting nutritional education for a student to know that if a student turns around and is in sports, it's important for them to eat breakfast because they've got to build their bodies up as well as lunch. Our after-school snacks, we also have that as well as into East and West. Because they do have the sports programs along with educational programs. So that is our wellness policy.
Thank you so much.
So thank you for the opportunity. Yes, you had a question?
I got a couple. So I guess the first question I have is
To hold, can we hold all questions until after Nicholas and then you can answer them? So I want him to do his presentation.
okay, no problem.
That works.
Sure.
So yes, thank you.
My glasses.
You need to look this. You're fine. So. I can still. Okay. Oh, here we go. I can stop sharing this. Oh, here we go. So which one do you want first?
The issue 110.
110, okay.
So they should be in order 110, 111, and then
Okay, so did 110
Summary.
progress? Okay.
Yeah, you don't need that 30 minutes.
Okay, so we're on.
To 100 is it?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You ready, Ms. Nixon?
Yes, I am.
Oh, great.
and then just the arrow.
Oh,
Yeah.
Awesome. So first I want to thank everyone for coming today to talk about your board policy updates. If you remember last time I was here, I discussed press issue updates from press issues 108 and 109. I want to give a huge shout out for to Brenda, who is here helping me navigate through these policies, but also for sitting through an over 2-hour Press Plus training session today to learn about how to update policy and whatnot. So huge props there. Yes, and we both feel like we will be on track going forward, and yes, and so we discussed issues 108 and 109 last meeting. The board successfully adopted those. Brenda went in and logged your responses, so we're great there. Today we're going to be discussing issues 110 and 111. The draft updates from those issues. So starting with issue 110, policy 2100, there were some updates here. We updated per press advisory board feedback. So at the association, we have a press advisory board that consists of members of school board attorneys from different districts throughout the state. They continuously review our policies to find where they can be updated and whatnot. So some of these updates were from that. If you'll see, we scratched out business partner in that number 2. And that is simply because the law isn't necessarily completely clear whether the board member's partner in this policy refers explicitly to business partner, marital partner, or anything else. So just a little more clarity on this policy. And then we can scroll down to 2105. So this one did not have many updates. You can keep scrolling through it if you want. Page 3 didn't have, 2 and 3 didn't have any updates. The only updates were, if you go to the last, right there, those legal references at the bottom of the policy were updated. So that is just continuous improvement. Nothing really to discuss there unless anyone has any specific questions about those. But then we can keep moving to 2210. Yep, right there. So this one was updated in response to, basically the law was updated that we're extending the time frame in which a board must hold its organizational meeting from 28 days to 40 days after the consolidated election. So we just updated the language here to reflect that appropriately. So now you have 40 days, so that gives you a little bit more flexibility there. And again, legal reference is updated down there. And then we can move to 4140. So on this policy, there were a number of updates. The first one was in that second paragraph. You will see language added that we added fines for the loss of damage to school property to the list of fee waivers. So that's a key update there. And if any board members have any questions or anyone on the policy committee has any questions, feel free to let me know. And then other than that, we also updated under notification that notice of waiver applicability must be provided with every bill for fees and or fines. Thirdly, we added some eligibility criteria for, under the eligibility criteria subheading, we added that students/parents, or the students' parents and guardians are veterans or active duty military personnel with income at or below 200% of the federal poverty line. And the student is homeless as defined in the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act. So that's more eligibility criteria for fee and fine waivers. And then at the bottom, that verification subheading, it's right there. That one, there's just a separate process for verifying eligibility for fee waivers. It's separate from it's independent and separate from the income verification. So that just cleans up the language there. So there are a number of updates there. So Sandra, if you have any specific questions about this one or anyone does, please feel free to reach out. And then we can move on to the next policy, which would be 4165. So this one had, one second. This one just had general updates, continuous improvement, nothing like legal changes that need to be updated. Basically a title change to 5120 to get that updated appropriately, and just some general language changes. So that one's pretty straightforward. And then we can move to 520. This one again is very straightforward, minor changes. And then if you go to the last page of that policy, you'll see changes to the legal references. Go down one more.
Okay, but on this one, we will need to just change the names here, but I can give you.
That's a great catch, yes. So what Brenda's saying is the non-discrimination coordinator and the complaint managers will need to be updated.
Right.
The nice thing about that is those do not need board approval because those constantly, or can constantly change with changes in employment and whatnot. So we will get those updated appropriately, and Brenda will reach out.
Yes.
Perfect. Updates. So that's a great catch there. And that's just another reason, you don't just need to take our updates. If there's any updates that you want to, make, you just let us know and we can roll that language in appropriately. Yes, on that last page, the legal references were added and updated. So pretty straightforward there. Then we can move to 5280. And this policy was updated, amending the term non-certificated to non-licensed. So that was just recently updated. So you'll see anytime it said non-certificated or unlicensed, we just changed all that to non-licensed to reflect the statute update. And also, if you look at number 2, there was a recent update to that says we added permitting unlicensed personnel to supervise school activities connected to the academic program when the governor has declared a disaster due to a public health emergency. So again, that just gives you more flexibility when there is a public health emergency to utilize non-licensed personnel to fulfill duties. We can keep scrolling. We can actually go to the next policy, which would be 5320. This one may look like there was a lot of updates to this, but really we just took your CBA reference at the beginning and moved it to the middle of the policy just to reflect general IASB formatting and whatnot. So that should be pretty straightforward there. We also made references to the employee handbook because you do have a reference to your collective bargaining agreement in the policy. So we made references to your handbook as well. So it's 5320, and then moving on to 620. Again, this is very straightforward, just legal reference updates. So nothing too detailed there. 665 would be next. Again, this is a very minor legal reference update on the second page, so nothing really big there. 6250 had some updates to the language. So the policy of this policy was updated and amended, replacing the term non-certificated again with non-licensed in reference to personnel. So again, we already talked about that for a previous policy, but it showed up in 6250 as well. So we updated that there. All right, 6255 is next. Let's see. So this policy was updated in response to the Supreme Court case that held that a football coach had a right to pray on the 50-yard line. You may have heard about that in the news. So we updated this policy to state that while the district respects an individual's brief, quiet, personal, religious observances, it should not endorse and whatnot. So that's how this language came about. Any questions about that, just feel free to reach out. That's 6255. So 6260 would be next. So this policy specifically was updated in response to, again, Press Advisory Board feedback regarding the needs for districts to have processes in place to address an increasing number of curriculum objectives. So this is about complaints about curriculum. So instead of saying persons, we said parents/guardians, employees, and community members have a right to file a complaint and whatnot. So just more specific language there. And then we also added a sentence at the end: the superintendent or designee shall establish criteria for the review of objections and inform the parent/guardian, employee, or community member, as applicable, of the district's decision. So continuous improvement there. That should be 6310. So for this one, let me see what I have. So we added language that says in that second paragraph, when applicable, the building principal or designee shall, prior to the first day of school, inform individual high school students enrolled in a mixed enrollment dual credit course that includes students who have and have not met the community college's criteria for dual credit coursework of whether they or not they are eligible to earn college credit for the course. So that's just being clear about whether or not they can earn college credit for the course if there are students in there who have not met the community college's criteria. So that's pretty specific. So again, any questions about that, reach out at any time. This one came with a question attached to it regarding registered apprenticeship programs. So if you scroll to that very bottom of the policy, should be, yeah, it should have a question. One more down, yeah, right there.
Oh, right here?
Yep. Or keep going down, sorry, my bad.
This,
Right there, I think that's right.
okay.
Yep. Okay, so basically this one came with a question that asked, does the district allow substitution in grades 9 through 12 who are at least 16 years old for PE and other required courses with participation in a registered apprenticeship program? So you could discuss internally whether or not you offer apprenticeship programs at your district. If the answer is no to that, we would just strike all of that registered apprenticeship program language that is was added in green. So that's just something you would want to look into, whether or not you offer apprenticeship programs as part of the curriculum. And then again, Brenda, did they show you how to log questions and whatnot?
Yes.
Perfect. So once you get that answer, you just log into your Press Plus site and we'll edit it appropriately.
Okay.
6340 would be next. This was, again, a very simple update to the legal references. So nothing too big there. 750. This one had an update. If you scroll to the second page, the policy was updated requiring districts to appoint a liaison to the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services. So that's now a requirement, so that policy was updated appropriately. Any questions about how to implement that in your district, we're happy to help at any point. But as far as the policy language, I believe you're required to have that stated there, so that's why the language was added. And the rest were just minor legal reference updates. So we can move to policy 7100. And again, that was just minor legal reference updates. 7180 then. Don't believe it said anything major either. A lot of the items in this issue were just legal reference updates and whatnot.
And we'll have some name changes on this one too?
Yes. Yes, so we have a list of all the policies that contain non-discrimination coordinator and complaint manager updates. So once you let us know what to fill in for those, we will get those updated across the board. Okay. 7250, we added an opening paragraph, basically. So originally the policy stated the following student support services may be provided by the school district. And number 5 was a liaison to facilitate the enrollment and transfer of records to students in the legal custody of the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services. That is now a requirement, so we pulled it out of the may be provided list and just added that to the top. So just know that that is now required and is in the policy at the very top. Let's see. Under that Aaron's Law counseling options, I noticed a minor spacing error, so we will get that fixed appropriately. And also under that paragraph, we added and grooming behaviors to the descriptive language.
I have a question.
Yes.
Aaron's Law is akin to Faith's Law, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, and we added a lot of updates to Faith's Law in both issues 110 and 111. So
Okay.
you'll notice that.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, they're not entirely the same thing, to be clear. They're just touch on similar.
Okay.
7340 is next. So this policy was updated in response to the Illinois School Student Records Act, giving DCFS certain rights to access student records of children in its custody. So we added the sentence, state and federal law grants students, parents, guardians, and when applicable, the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services, Office of Education, and Transition Services to access those records. So just an update to who would be able to access your records in those cases. I don't think there's anything else on this policy, so then we can move to 2265. So this is at the end because it's a completely new policy that the board has yet to adopt. It is required. I have a note here that says the district must have at least one policy explicitly stating it does not discriminate on the basis of sex in its education programs or activities under Title IX and its implementation regulations. There's a lot to this policy. So again, any specific questions anyone has, please feel free to reach out. But it basically says, that Title IX sexual harassment is prohibited. Title IX is pretty specific about, what is considered sexual harassment and whatnot, which is why I believe you need a specific policy for it. There's a number of definitions at the bottom of page 1, and then page 2. We give what the response by the district and the board should be, how to make a report, and then if you notice, the Title IX coordinator information is not filled in this policy. Your policy 2260 states that the non-discrimination coordinator also serves as a Title IX coordinator. So I will get with Brenda to make sure we have that straightened out.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. I think that was mainly it for this policy. There's also some questions on this one actually. If you go to the, you will want to answer these questions as well. They're pretty straightforward. Does the district employ assistant principals? That's a yes or no. Does the district employ a dean of students? Yes or no. And then if you want to use a live hearing process during the grievance, process, you have the option to do that. The majority of boards that I've worked with do not opt to do that. It is only required, I believe, at the for post-secondary institutions or whatnot. But it is an option if anyone is interested. And then the fourth question is regarding the standard of proof that the board has adopted in 2265. For that question, you may want to consult your board attorney because it's about the standard of proof and whatnot. So we usually suggest to bring that to your board attorney to get his or her opinion. Moving on to 5120. This policy was rewritten. You may just want to read through it. It wasn't any. I don't believe there was anything specifically added to it outside of the faith law update to this. So Ms. Hickson, you may want to review this one if you have questions about faith law or anything like that. And then it was also updated, I believe, to just include references to a code of professional conduct that employees should be adhering to. For the rewritten policies, I also usually suggest to, when presenting to the board, to print out the old copy as well as the new copy so they have an easy reference point to see how it was rewritten. So that was it for issue 110, I believe.
Okay.
So we can move to issue 111. Yeah. Yeah, he's got it.
Oh, there we go. Issue 11. Okay, here we go. And then this is it. So now we get to share this screen or share it.
So that's the full screen thing there. Need to add it back to the screen.
Yeah,
So
stop sharing.
it's not on the Proviso, so just get it started. So we can do it.
good? You guys are okay? Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
All right, so this is the issue 111 draft updates. It starts with policy 2110 if you're looking at your packet. This issue had less updates and whatnot, so please feel free to stop me at any point if you want to discuss anything. No, I'm moving pretty fast through these updates, but there's just a number of items to get through. So on policy 2110, this was updated. If you look at number 12, we basically said we added that the Board of Education elects a president from its members for a one-year term. The duties of the president are, number 12 says, to ensure that all fingerprint-based criminal history records, information checks, screenings, and sexual misconduct-related employment history reviews, EHRs, are completed by the superintendent. So you may have heard about employment history reviews that are now being required for certain roles within the district and whatnot in the hiring process. So we added language there regarding that. The other updates to this policy were very straightforward, just making references to the Intermediate Service Center Executive Director instead of the Regional Superintendent. And then legal reference updates at the end. Moving on to 590. If you look at the top of page 2, it made an addition to a reference to Faith's Law. So again, you'll see that throughout these issue 111 updates. And then under special superintendent responsibilities, there was legislation passed requiring districts to develop procedures to notify the parents/guardians of a student with whom a district employee, agent, or contractor is alleged to have engaged in sexual misconduct. So that's what that paragraph discusses. And again, references to Faith's Law to close out that subsection. And minor updates to the legal references as well on that last page. 5125 would be next. This was updated for continuous improvement. This is the personal technology and social media policy. So you'll see we basically we added TikTok to the number of social media platforms, as well as scratched out some of the old language referring to Blackberries and iPods and whatnot. So we're just, again, continuous improvement and whatnot.
Still use Blackberries?
We scratched it out, so not entirely sure, but yeah, so that continuous improvement here. And then, we just added a subheading for superintendent responsibilities. So that's pretty much it for that policy. 5150 is personnel records. If you'll see, we added number 3 under that policy because there was legislation passed requiring a district to maintain, as part of an employee's personnel file, a form including EHR information. So when you run those employment history reviews, you also have to keep that in the personnel records, which is pretty self-explanatory, but it has to be board policy as well. 5260 would be next. And I believe this one had just minor updates as well. Clean up instead of referring, making acronyms instead of full names and whatnot. So that's 5260. And then 6135, just clean up language. We struck the language by the fall of 2023. So straightforward there. 820, straightforward, updates to the legal references. And then 340E, so this is an exhibit. So I may have touched upon this at our first meeting, but IASB recommends to include any exhibits related to board work in your board policy manual. Any exhibits related to administrative work should be kept in a separate administrative procedures manual. So 340E is a checklist for the superintendent employment contract negotiation process, which is why we opt to include it in the board policy manual. It was recently updated per contact with children or students including a superintendent, and for continuous improvement. So that was just updated for those EHRs as well. These exhibits are very useful for any time like a situation comes up like this, like you're hiring a new superintendent or things like that. So make sure you're logging into your Press Plus site and reviewing those exhibits as well. So that's 340E. And then it's a pretty long exhibit. So I believe that's the last policy then in the packet. So I also sent you over a packet for your review and monitoring policies, but those were already adopted by the board, so that packet, you won't have to look at it all, because the board adopted those and you should be good to go there. So the next steps from here would be to bring the updates to, the draft updates from issue 110 as well as issue 111 to the board for the formal adoption process. Once they adopt them, you send them off to Brenda, who does logs them on Press Plus, and we will take care of logging those edits in and whatnot. Again, I know I touched on a lot today and went pretty fast, so if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out at any point.
You know I will call.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Send the email in a minute.
Yes. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any questions that anyone has at this time?
I have a question, but it's going back to the food.
Okay, but nothing for
And
me.
not for, no.
Anybody have any questions for me?
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate the help.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure.
Yes.
Question?
Okay, so my question is in regards to the policy for food and health and
Ms.
everything
Gate,
else.
just,
What about allergies for students who have allergies and
We want to
things
make
like that?
So we want to make sure there is a law also that has been put in place for a student that actually had an allergic reaction from the food that was being served because it was not known that there was a peanut oil that was in there. So what we, the discussion with our public relations, Chrissy Vanderbrook, is that we want to revamp the website for our personal website on the Proviso District 209 website to allow that when you click on the menu and you click on a certain item, it'll allow for all the allergens to let you know. There's a soy, there's a peanut allergy, there's a tree allergy, there's a shellfish allergy. It is something that we were just discussing right now that we would like to also add into the wellness policy, but because we are on constrained time and it took a long while to even get to this point, we're 2.5 years in from where we started, and I'm very proud where we're at because it's taken a long time to get here, and we're still a work in progress. So this was literally on the back burner till I got an assistant finally this past year. So he's been working diligently on the wellness policy. So we are looking to add that component into here because again, that ties in with your fundraisers, especially when they're bringing things in there that they may not know what the allergens are. And if they're selling certain cupcakes that were made with peanut oil or some type of oil that could have an allergic reaction, it can have an ill effect, not just on the school, but it can also have an ill effect on us. Because usually when a child says, I ate it from school, and the automatic is, you got it from the lunchroom. Right. Well, if there was a fundraiser there, it's not gonna go to the fundraiser, it's gonna go straight to the lunchroom, which automatically tags us. And if we have no knowledge of what was being sold that day, then it poses a problem for us. So we are really trying to hone in on making sure, and we just made notes because as we're going along and we're listening actually to your policy as well, on the things that we want to make sure that they're incorporated in here, due to the fact that if we can tell the teachers that are in charge of fundraising, hey, can we do a craft sale? Maybe your students have a knack for crafts or their parents do. Is there something that we can do like a rose sale during Valentine's Day for the chocolate? Is there something else that we can do that will stay away from the food area part of that and make it non-food sales? Because the minute that you put in, if it's not store-bought and it's hand done, which I've seen a lot of the bake sales here, they've been hand-done bake sales, again, puts us into a position where I don't know if they wash their hands. I don't know if there's a contaminant in there. I don't know what they did and I can't claim for that. So that is that allergen part that we want to put into this policy, that we will incorporate. If you want it incorporated now, we can do that now and put that law in there. Again, that would have to go in front of you all and plus the board. We are in a tight constraint to make sure that this wellness policy is in place before the audit.
But it also has to do a lot with the health department, correct?
Correct.
So it has to go hand in hand, the food and the health.
And again,
So,
the local educational agency, which would be us, would have to prohibit those things to happen. We're not telling them that you can't have a fundraiser, we're just asking that it be non-food fundraisers as opposed to food fundraisers.
and then the menu, is it available on the website?
Yes, it is.
With, because I know we send it home on a monthly basis.
So
But it's also available on the website?
it's available on the
Paper?
website, and also there is a link. So if parents are interested in going and knowing more of the allergens, Titan has a parent portal that you can register for, log into it. Once you log into it, our menu pops up and it allows you to see all the calories, the carbohydrates, the sodium levels, the sugars,
Okay.
everything is listed in
That's
there.
on the web page already.
But you have to go in, you have to register into Titan as a parent, and it will allow you to look at the menu.
Right. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I have 3 questions, so just bear with me. The first question is the food served at lunch the same, the menu the same across all 3 schools? So
Yes.
what's being served at today is being served at PMSA West and East?
Yes.
Okay, because that's what I'm just trying to figure out, okay. Is there an advantage of being in-house with our food versus contracting out with a service like Sodexo?
So the advantage based off of what I learned from when Proviso did this 3 years ago was that Sodexo was not performing the way that students wanted them to. They were not getting the meals that they were supposed to. They were not even following the menu. It was more advantageous to a teacher to get a better meal than a student, which is what I was learning as we were coming along. If you're serving meals for teachers, it needs to be the same meal that the student is eating
Right.
and not better. I was told, when are we gonna get catfish again? I'm like, well, why were you serving catfish? Why was, fried catfish? And they're like, yeah, it was a great Friday. And I'm like, well, why would you get that? Where did you get it from? And I'm like, that's not something that is sold on an order guide, first of all. And that is not that shouldn't have never been able to even been done here in the first place. So it was a hard fight for the first year, because Walker Quality Services was a consultant. He was not a food service person, he was a consultant that was consulting us on how to run the operations. When I came in here, there was no guideline as to where you all were at and where I needed to be. I was given the keys and said, here's a plane, fly it. and just keep it up in the air. And I did, I kept it up in the air. So this first audit will be the attestment to how we are doing. Do I think we'll pass? I think we'll pass. I don't have any doubt in it. Are there going to be some mistakes that we're going to have to correct? Of course. This is my first time coming into a role. I've been in food service for 18 years, but coming in from CPS, you've got people who run certain departments. I am all your departments.
Right.
And then I go and disperse into others. So when I'm sitting here asking questions, it's been a learning lesson. I'm grateful that before Dr. Henderson left, that he finally approved assistant, because one person running a three high school district and almost 4,000 students, that's a lot with no help. And then with the amount of staff of 12 that I had by the end of the year, running 3 schools and feeding almost at least 3,000 students is a lot. So is it better? I think so. We've given the students some say in what they want. We've given them some variety and some options. Do we fall off the cracks? Of course. Does supply chain a lot to do with it? Of course it does. Especially now, going back into that point where and East and West may get chicken tenders. They may not even get them at all.
Still chicken.
Exactly.
And you may get a chicken patty over that. So are there going to be variations? Of course. Are there going to be some shortages? Of course. We're still working out those kinks. We're still in the junior half of the year, sophomore half of the year. So we're working out those kinks.
We have a question from teens. Ms. English wants to know, are you able to share more about the social media policy? What does it entail?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was policy, double check. So that's policy 5125. So Brenda, if you want to navigate to the issue 111 draft update.
Okay.
And I believe it's page 8. It's blank.
Okay, you can start talking about that.
Sure, yeah. So the social media policy basically includes usage and conduct standards for employees and whatnot. So it says, under usage and conduct, all district employees, board members, and volunteers who use personal technology and/or social media shall. And then the policy has a list of about 11 numbers that employees, board members, and volunteers who use personal technology and/or social media shall adhere to. So some of them are like choose a district-provided or supported method whenever possible to communicate with students and their parents, guardians. That's basically saying don't use your social media to communicate. Use the district-provided outlets. Not interfere with or disrupt the educational or working environment or the delivery of education or educational support services. Not disclose confidential information. So it's basically a guideline for how to utilize personal technology and social media for employees. We also have at the bottom of it a list of superintendent responsibilities regarding social media, such as inform the district employees about the policy, basically building awareness about the policy and making sure that these specific criteria as to what they should be followed is actually being followed by the district. So that's basically what it entails. But if there's any further questions about that, just let me know.
Ms. Horton,
Yes.
there was 2 more questions that she had that I wanted to address if possible. Since yourself will allow, because they were going back to what we had for the wellness policy.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so my other questions were, is there a chance salad bars will possibly come back in the post-COVID era? Because I know they were kind of banned in that, or at least prepackaged salads.
We do the prepackaged salads. They are in plastic containers, and they have the biscuit or the bread component in there. We also put aside on the protein part of it in a 2-ounce container. So we do have that in all 3 schools. I would love to bring back the salad bar. Unfortunately though, even at one school, we can turn around and have an entire bar for hot dogs and hamburgers, and it becomes a mess because kids like throwing it. They like doing things with it, unfortunately. So it makes it very hard to do things like that. So unfortunately, we are still in the prepackaged mode. Maybe one day we'll be able to do it, but I can't guarantee that.
Right. And then the other thing too is about menus for people and their religious beliefs, because we are heading into Lent season, and Ash Wednesday is coming up, so we definitely need our, meatless days. And
I told you.
And-
So I'll be glad to answer that for you because we just finished working on the menu last week. So I'm very much aware of the whole Christianity and Catholic, born and raised Catholic, Christian now. So I did make sure that on Wednesday with our creation station that we did have a Lenten option, and every Friday until Easter we have a Lenten option for students who are practicing Catholics or Christians. So that is a part of our menu. I know you asked about Islamic religion and things of that nature. So last year, going into this year, the USDA and the state of Illinois were looking at halal options, especially into halal meats, and it was put in front of the Illinois State Board of Education, And it was left to each district as to whether or not they wanted to do it because it is so expensive meat-wise, that it is beyond what the USDA was willing to pay, per student. It was then costing almost $7 to $8 per student to be paid back in reimbursement because the meat is so expensive. We can play with kosher ideas,
Yeah.
to see what we can find, which we are looking to vamp in. So I don't have a problem with that. We just need to kind of see what fits into our co-op. Because if our co-op has those, items that we can purchase at a very good price, then it's deemable for all districts. There's 120 districts, that are part of the co-op that we are currently under, and they've been very, very helpful with us, in trying to gain more knowledge of everything that we've been doing. So I grant all my thankfulness to them because I make those phone calls, including to the state of Illinois. So we are looking at different options. We are growing. We're still small, but we are growing to really just make sure that we are able to be self-operative and give those kids what they want.
And the same thing for like vegetarian and vegan meals, I know
Vegan
that.
meals, yep, we've offered the morning star burgers. We've had different options as far as even, we've even put on the menu that there's gluten-free options, where we have a certain section that we cut off in case the child is gluten-free. We entirely make sure that everything is clean and sanitized, and that gluten materials are only used at that time for gluten students. We haven't had very many students, we've had one, and that's about it. The only thing that I would say is that we do need to tie some type of restriction that as soon as we know that a student has an allergy problem, that 504C is given to the nutrition department immediately, because we're finding out that students are having allergen problems and we don't know this. And if it's not put into Power School at that time, then it doesn't upload into our POS system, and we don't know.
Yeah, because the POS system's set up where if it isn't Power School and they say a child comes up and they're lactose intolerant and they have a milk, they'll flash at our staff and say, student lactose intolerant. Now, our staff just says like, hey, you're lactose intolerant, you shouldn't have that. Now it's up to the child to make the decision.
Do you have any lactose-free milk or like almond milk?
We do have soy milk
We have
that's in
soy
each of the
options.
schools. At the time, my wonderful assistant didn't know that soy milk is not a paid option through the government. We have skim milk that is paid through the government, 1% low-fat chocolate and low-fat strawberry. So when I looked at the soy milk, where did this come from? I said, he's just like, oh, we can't. They can purchase it, or if a student does have it on file that they are lactose intolerant, then we can offer them a soy option, and at that point in time, they just need to talk to a manager, and the manager will give them a soy.
Yeah, this is just phenomenal. I'm like, you explain kosher. I'm like, okay, I'm impressed.
Can I piggyback a little off of the first question you asked on if it's better or worse or what you see? Actually, when Steph hired me, she was very interested in that scratch cooking mindset of things of potentially getting there. I'm very passionate about nutrition and food and the chain of how food gets on our plate. And I've been drawing out the ideas of potentially going more into scratch cooking, farm to table style food options here. It is going to be a task, it's not going to be overnight, but that's where these wellness policy committees, if and when we build a good wellness policy team, now we have support from just district-wide, and now we can get back out in the community and see how to make that possible. And like I told Steph, like it's going to be rough, especially because you got to get, number one, get our staff trained and appreciative of coming in and doing everything by hand, because we get so accustomed of opening a box, putting it in the oven, putting it on a tray, and serving it to these kids.
I don't like packaged breakfast.
Yeah.
I am very against packaged. I don't believe Pillsbury is the answer to everything. I do believe a Super Donut's an answer to everything, but I don't believe packaged goods are great for breakfast. And this past week during Building Institute Day, we actually did a French toast casserole that was made by hand and by scratch. So it went well with all of the workers. They're like, it's very good. I didn't get a chance to taste it, unfortunately. But all the workers thought it was good. It was easy to make, and it's scratch. So if it's a matter of doing more scratch cooking and
Semi-scratch.
lessening our entrees, we currently have 7 entrees that we serve a day. If we can condense it down to maybe 4, but it's all scratch, then I think the quality over the quantity of options will definitely have children there. Is our participation up? At PMSA, we are almost 200 to 300 students up from when Sodexo was here. During breakfast for West was only serving maybe about 2 something at the time when they were just getting shoved grab and go food. Now it's on the line, we're up to 309.
Wow.
And that's on their own coming to the line. East is a little bit more problematic because of the way that the student situation is, but we still see an increase from 80 kids to at least close to 200.
That is.
We're down in numbers as far as lunch, we're coming back down, but we can't try to figure out where the pinpoint is. But then of course, there are some issues during lunch, whether it's a fight or something that's going on. So we are looking to find out where we can go about it. But I mean, for the most part, having 700 to 800 to 900 students come and eat through your lunch line compared to the 700 that you were only having 3 years ago, I think is remarkable.
I do have one other big question on this, is I do know some of the kids said that like at their old schools or something like that, or they have friends that go to their schools, they get Subway or Jimmy John's or something in the cafeterias, like, I said, you have to ask. I said, you've got to say something to the cafeteria staff.
And I opened that conversation up, which I believe that we do need to have a roundtable of at least, 10 students from each class, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, especially freshmen, because they're coming in from 8th grade not even having that many options to, oh my God, I don't even know what to eat. And you could see it in their face. What do I eat? I don't know what to eat. Do I take the burger? And sometimes they'll try to sneak the burger and take a pizza so they can have both. So I'm just like, no, sweetheart, you can only have one. But the other part about that is making sure that, we're able to be open like that. I know that there is one high school that opens it up like a, almost like a food court, which we were trying to do at the beginning, but unfortunately though, you're coming into starting a brand new school and self-operative, and when you're doing things like that, you can have that dream, but you gotta have the staff. And again, it makes for a harder situation. I hope that by year 5, because we're going to ending year 3, I'm hoping by year 5 we can offer those kind of things, but again, it's going to be trial and error.
So I have a question on teens. Is there any reason that teachers at West do not have lunch served to them? It's very hard to go out for lunch and get back on time.
They are more than welcome to eat off of our line. We offer all the opportunities to them. If they can wait till the children, I know that they're on a time constraint. Our job is to make sure that the children get fed. One line is usually smaller than the other, but if we're able, now that we have a little bit more staff there, if they're able to go to a manager and say, can I buy a lunch? But we are trying to get the children out first, and then we can serve the teachers. But we do serve the teachers.
It is paid though.
It is a paid lunch, and it is $5.50. And they do get a little bit more portion size than a child would.
And I think I talked to some teachers and they would like to see if there's like a card feature that we could implement so they don't have to pay cash. Because I heard that that's like one of their biggest issues. Like sometimes they want to come down and eat, but they don't have cash. So they just opt out or they just don't have the time. So our main thing right now that we want to work on is getting kids through the line. Because I know that drags a little to get all the kids through the line. If we could shorten that and make it like 10, 15 minutes.
Let her know at West we're trying to fix that third line so we can make it easier.
So then how do you handle, I guess, the teacher's plan period, or how do you balance the teacher's plan or lunch period against the kids'
So
lunch
most here, the teachers usually wait
No,
till
at West.
At West?
Yes.
We haven't really seen that many teachers come through. Maybe about 2 or 3 is what I'm looking at as far as like that issue is concerned. What I want to do is to make sure that the third line that is closest to the teacher's cafeteria is try to open that line. We do have some new wells there. We do have 3 lines there, but unfortunately we are kind of in the midst of arguing with the equipment person. When they installed it, they didn't come back, which Ms. Horton, I'll be talking to you about when it came for our bid. So we are trying to get that line fixed, and if we can, that will minimize a lot of the students being held up in two lines. And then it also, if worse comes to worse, if we can make that third line for the teacher's line, and then have students come through.
Because they're saying they used to have a separate area for teachers, like.
They
That
did,
kind
but
of still there.
it's still there.
Okay.
It's still there, but unfortunately, when
answer
you only
is-
got 6 employees,
Yes.
and you only got
800
for almost 900 kids, and you're trying to get almost 200 of them through the line in a matter of 10 to 15 minutes. Those kids are gonna come first before anybody else.
Sure, so the answer is after the kids and looking to open up the third line.
Correct.
Okay,
Is there a way that we could possibly maybe have teachers load money onto?
That's
That's
what
yeah,
we
that's
wanna
what
look
we're
into.
looking at.
And
If not, we do have credit card systems that we've been trying to integrate with Titan. Well, but we just need to go through the district and the treasurer for the district to see, there's certain information that they're looking for that I can't give them, that the district has to give them. Once that district turns it over to them, then we can be able to do anything, a credit card, ID, whatever it is gonna be.
Okay.
Hopefully I answered all your questions.
And you said you had a website, so actually at the last community outreach meeting, we were talking about reviving the app we used to have back in the pre-2020
The
days.
apps are popping.
So no, we used to have a D209 app,
Nice.
but it's not working on any phone right now. Like I can put it on my phone, but it's not gonna work because my phone is on a newer system than, because I think when that was out, it was like OS, 8, and now we're up to what, operating
I just
system
go to
17?
Google and I can still pull the,
Oh, I
if
know.
I search it on
It just would
Google.
be nice if we could start reviving the app so that we can open it up and you can see the menu and you.
That's above my pay.
I know. I'm kind of sending. I'm trying to send a little message back there to Mr. Bennett.
Get some high school students.
That's above my pay grade.
Is that above your pay grade too?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I gotta start somewhere.
Understood.
and also, so Ms. Garza, next steps for your policy is you came to present obviously, but you need Mrs. Hickson to take it to the board
Yes,
at the next board meeting for
the 13th.
for the board's review and approval, because you need it approved by March for your audit.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we also will need it on the website, to be added to the website, where I know Ms. Vanderbrook wants it approved, she can upload it into the website. We'll also add our mission, we'll have to have a mission statement for Proviso, which will be hard to create.
We got one already.
I believe there is one.
There's a
I believe I wrote one.
There's a mission
Very
and a
confusing
vision.
these days.
Mission, vision, purpose.
Is that it?
Yes,
Any
any
more
more
questions?
questions?
Okay, I'm going to be the lazy person today. I'm going to say thank you very much for everyone coming out for our policy committee meeting. It's such a pleasure to have everyone at home and on Zoom come out, and of course the team. You're always welcome to come and join us, and thank you so much, Nick. Thank you, and the new Health and Wellness Committee. Thank you all for the information. I am truly impressed. It was very, very interesting. Thank you, and good night. You're welcome. And I agree with you with scratch. I'm a baker, so I do everything with scratch. Except for tonight, I bought Girl Scout cookies. I'm not doing that tonight. Thank you. Please have some food, and thank you again for coming out.
Thank you.
What do you guys?
Just the start. We're only 3 years in.
You know what?
Thank you, everybody.
So tomorrow,
Like,
tomorrow.
Because I was
We-